Hello everyone, how are you? I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good because it's daily time. It's Thursday, July 26, 2012, and this is Day 9 Daily number 485, where we learn to be a better gamer. Yeah! In today's daily, we are going to face an issue that many Zerg players are having constantly on their ladder, which is that Terrans are increasingly not doing kind of standard within a box style play. And as a result, it becomes seemingly more difficult to just follow down typical avenues. It's becoming unclear what standard play is as Zerg because Terrans are becoming less standard. So we're going to be looking at a game from Dong Regu as he goes up against MMA from IPL Hot Import Knights. And we'll just sort of talk about the responses that you could do, the mistakes you don't want to get in, talk about what's common, what's not common, and all that sort of stuff. And yeah. More on that in a bit. The one thing that I just wanted to ask about, I don't know if you have noticed this trend, but things, for a long time, things have been on subjective scales. You know, where it's like your drinks are small, medium, and large. Or, you know, I'm sure you've played games that are like easy, medium, hard, or low, middle, high. They're not exact numbers, they're sort of qualitative. But that spectrum seems to be just like getting shifted to the right over time. Like on graphics for computers. On games, it's not like low, medium, high anymore. It's like high, ultra, extreme. Or like at Taco Bell that I was just at, the hot sauces go mild, hot, inferno, and then there's like another one that's black that's like lava. I don't understand why exactly that is. I honestly think that we should just abandon low and we should just begin at high. High should be the base mark. This is actually one of the reasons why I like God of War 3 type things, where it's actually just 5 words that don't mean anything to you. Where it's like difficulty, and it's like mortal, titan, god, Olympian, fairy. And I just don't know what's the greatest one. I mean, is this an alphabetical ordering? I just did mortal, because that's what I am. I ain't no Olympian, clearly, as you might imagine. Excellent. And now that I've said all that, I'm thinking how stupid it would be if my hot sauce said low, medium, and high. That would be awesome. Excellent. Let's talk about ZVT. Yeah! Terran players are increasingly becoming total dicks, aren't they? Oh, God. Ugh. I would say that there was a period of time where Terrans would they'd go Hellion in the opening, and then they'd get an expand. Maybe they go expand Hellion, something like that, it doesn't matter. They would get their Hellions and their expand, and then they would, you know, get Marines and medevacs and push, and then later they'd have tanks and expansions, and that literally was... I'm trying to think if there's, like, really any other variation to that equation, but no, that's basically it. Sometimes they would go 2 racks and then expand, and then go Marines and medevacs and tanks and all that stuff. But that's basically how Terrans were playing for a long time. A couple Terrans were doing this before the Range 5 Queen, but then you know what happened? The Range 5 Queen comes along, suddenly gives those Hellioning players a lot of problems, and Terrans started to think to themselves, wow, I really need to stretch the limits of what I'm doing with this race. I can't just go Hellion Banshee. It's not going to be acceptable. Or I can't just go Hellion and then into Marine. I have to go Hellion Banshee and do something extreme with that. I have to go 2 racks, but then I'm going to triple expand. I'm going to go 2-port Banshee. I'm going to be going, like, Reactor Hellion, Tech Lab Hellion, Blue Flame, and get, like, a ton of stuff. What are some other of the weird things I've seen? I've seen Terran players go 2 racks, expand, and then 2 more racks and go Marine Marauder push with Combat Shield, and it hits at like 820. It's like a really early weird timing. There's a lot of things that Terran are doing that are kind of weird. Here's a big issue that happens for Zerg. Let's assume you're left alone. Right? Let's assume that you are left alone. The earliest you can get layer tech is like 10 minutes. That's the earliest that you can have your mutas out or your infestors out. So what happens? Before that time, medevacs are going to be annoying to us, as are Hellions, as are just all sorts of pushes. We don't have our layer tech up. So all the crazy stuff that they can do in the early game can be so confusing, can delay your layer so much. You can start doing weirdly timed counterattacks, weirdly timed expands. You want to kill his expansions. There's so many pressures that you have against a Terran nowadays that making the wrong decision is really easy. So in this game, I'm actually going to do something a little unusual. It's going to be highly educational from the Zerg point of view. We're going to see kind of a dramatic long game. The Zerg is eventually going to lose, which is kind of unusual, right? You'd think that if I was doing a Zerg daily, it'd be like, look at Zerg winning, because we want to have Zerg pride. But I do think it's still important to note that there are 1,000,001 ways where DRG could have lost, and the reason he lost were, I would say, more army-related and a little bit more adjustable, right? It was a close game. It could have gone either way. And we're going to see so many great decisions from DRG in the early game, I figured, why not? It's also, it's just, I guess I'd call it a hard game. It's a really, really tough game from both players' point of view. So I thought that it was one of the most interesting educational examples we could do, so you know what? Damn it, I decided to do that. Oh yeah, we got MVP Dongray Goose spawning here. The map's Cloud Kingdom. Up in this here top right, we have MMA, playing under the name My Vengeance. I like Cloud Kingdom a lot as a map. Just for one, we have kind of an easy to defend third, which is more of a theme on all maps nowadays, that we can defend that quite well. We also have a lot of paths for drops to swing in here and here. There's kind of a center, but not really. We can do these like roundabout attacky things. I increasingly sort of feel like Cloud Kingdom is the best general map for DAT learning. Alright, let's go ahead and go into Dongray Gu's point of view. So there are, of course, timings that you should know right off the bat in the early game. Probably the most notable of which is if your opponent goes 1 Marine early expand, when do you need to check in on this? At 3 minutes and 30 seconds, a drone suiciding in, a Ling suiciding in, hell, the Overlord poking its little head over. That's just a timing to know, 3:30. I think a lot of Protosses are more familiar with that timing, just due to the fact that they don't have Overlords and actually need to know that shit. So already we have kind of an unusual and annoying type of thing. Now, you should know that this is barracks number 1. This actually generally can't be barracks number 2. And if he is building barracks number 2 and you check this watchtower and you don't actually see barracks number 2, alright, well that's basically 1 barracks. And 'tis important not to overreact. I actually know some Zergs that, yeah, early expand here every time. Now, 2 things that I'll note right off the bat. Again, many Zerg players will still 15 hatch 14 pool, as opposed to 15 hatch 16 pool. I think that's pretty important. But other than that, Dongray Gu's not really reacting to this, other than this fast spawning pool. This is a really nice little play. Just sending a couple of drones here to be able to deflect this attack. I honestly think that this is perhaps one of the most easily mistakable type things to do to way oversend drones here. Here's the logic behind it. If you send a lot of drones, where'd my mouse cursor go? There it is. If you send a ton of drones here, you'll stop the attack, but you will have screwed yourself over as well. If you send no drones at all, sure, this finishes, but you also take no damage. It's noteworthy to consider that if this does finish, and Terran doesn't win with this, he has invested in a full barracks in the middle of the map that is now useless. So most of the time, I prefer to either slightly engage this, or not to engage it at all. To build this pool and let it finish. Building the pool and let it finish is probably what I would do in this situation. Maybe have 1 drone harass it. Because right now you know that you are not going to be under any pressure at all. And your Terran opponent is low on his barracks play. So already we're in kind of a funky, odd situation. We are going pool first rather than doing something like go for our hatch pool and all this stuff. So suddenly we have been ejected out of our fun, easy build following techniques. I know a lot of people just have their build planned out to like 80 food. They expand and they get a queen at this time, and then they build their spine crawler at like 6 minutes, and the evolution chambers at 6:30. Like everything's super, 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 super ultra timed out. But when this happens, and you kind of have to wing it, it's important that we understand all the underlying reasons why we build things at certain time. If you kill a barracks, you can't possibly be under pressure for a while. Actually, that's one thing I want to note. Most generally, oh shit, how do I say that? That's so important. I even talked about it yesterday. Why can't I just remember what I said yesterday? Most generally, when something goes wrong for the opponent, the most common thing that people do is think of how to take advantage of it now. And I just want you to flip that thinking to, how can I take advantage of this in the long term? So for instance, yesterday I was talking about if you kill off an attack, it's very easy to think, oh, we can't have units now. I guess I need to go kill him because maybe I can do that. That's wrong. The correct thing is, I killed off his army. Well, he can't attack me now. I guess I need to... well, I guess I could expand. That helps me in the long term. I guess I could tech. That helps me in the long term. So again, we kill off a barracks. Very easy to go, oh my god, I can kill him right now. Wrong. You might be able to kill him. You might not. But certainly he can't do anything to you. So we see Dongre-gu getting only 2 lings. Not a lot of lings. Just shoving it. Just shoving it, too. Okay, so let's think about this moment. He's poked over here. He actually doesn't see this expand. Alright, so he can't quite be under pressure. And what I'll note is a lot of Zergs will go for the 17 extractor, like a reasonably early extractor. In this game, it's the same thing. 21 is a little bit later than 17. But the idea is that if you ever get kind of an early extractor, you're essentially claiming, I want to get ling speed and then go back to droning. And I don't want an early 3rd queen. That's sort of universally true. So Dongre-gu, by doing this, is essentially no longer relying on this information of I killed his early barracks. The only adjustment Dongre-gu really did was say, let me just get 2 more drones. And then even though everything of his might be late and expand, Hellion, any of that stuff, I'm still just going to do the usual preparations. Actually, hell, damn, that's something to consider. That's something to consider. Let's say you have an extra special build order in Zerg vs. Terran that you are really good at winning normal games with. If your opponent messes up early, that build order will still be good. In fact, it will actually be a little bit better. But more often than not, people tend to change their build too much. Like Dongre-gu is going to be going for a very standard 2 queen, build a lot of drones, whatever. It's very easy trap to fall into, especially if you're somewhat inexperienced, to be thinking, oh my god, but I killed his his barracks here, man. I killed his barracks here. Do you think that maybe I should keep doing it? It's totally like that tragic thing that everyone does at some point in their relationship history, where they get a little bit too over-obsessed about this one thing that she said to him at a party 8 weeks ago. It was 8 weeks ago, man. Let it go. Live in now. Alright, cool. So here is something that is a little bit of a metagame play, but is generally applicable throughout TVZ. In general, your opponent will be going for fast Hellions. Just in general. We'll be going for some sort of reasonably fast Hellion. Maybe they'll Command Center Hellion, Hellion Command Center, doesn't matter. The only other thing that they'll really be doing is Marine. Trying to think if there's anything that I left out. No. We're good. This is a versatile attack that's quite good. The general concept is that you get that kind of early extractor to get your kind of early Zergling speed. And then you just leave dudes in the extractor. And right as you start... Actually, let me pull back to here. This is where I rely on relative timings. A lot of people will say things like, build Zergling speed when you have 100 gas. And then they'll say, get your Vespene gas geyser at 37 food. They'll have this really specific stuff. I like relative timings, like saying, when you start Zergling speed, that's when you start a second gas geyser. Why do I like relative timings? Because if we get screwed up, we can always use our relative timings. So I'll actually jump ahead and just tell you for the moment. Yeah. In this early game, what Dongregu's going to do is get a couple of roaches, a bunch of Zerglings with speed, and go attack his opponent early on. That's what he's going to do. I'm sure many of your builds have things like maybe early Stalker Sentry pressure, early Hellion Marine Medevac pressure, just some sort of early attack. And again, you'll fall into this habit of going 25 barracks, 29 this, 35 that. Know your build in relative terms. When Zergling speed starts, start this extractor. I don't care if you got messed up early. I don't care if you didn't get messed up early. Using that relative timing is very easy. So, we get these gas geysers up, still making them drones, still making them drones, still making them drones. Now, again, there are these relative timing type things that we could do quite well. There are these relative timing things that we could... my train of thought was totally thrown off by not pausing before that extractor detonated. He did actually cancel this before he saw the thingamajigger. I believe so. I think he did. For some reason, I remember him canceling this later. My notes on this daily are incomplete. Yeah, he ended up canceling it. Yeah, cool. Cool. So yeah, alright, nice. So again, we have this sort of thing like this Roach Warren coming up to follow up this Zergling speed boost. It's very easy to say something like build your Roach Warren at 40 supply. But I would prefer if you said things like when your Zergling speed gets to around 40. It frames it in more relative terms. When do you stop producing drones? Well, we can just say something like when our Roach Warren is halfway done, we stop making drones. It's a relative timing. We don't have to get too specific. And boom. So here's the very common timing. I actually, with this Vespene gas geyser, I actually wrote down that he built it and then didn't write down that he canceled it. I remembered in my mind that he did it later. So you know what? For the purposes of this daily, pretend that this geyser didn't exist and you'll still do it. You'll still do great. Aw, yeah. So, okay, let's do some of this relative timing stuff again. I'm not talking about why this is good or bad at this point. I'm just talking about a kind of a what that we're doing. And when we start our little roach flood, we also throw down a queenie. Cool. So, let's frame this in relative terms. When do we stop Zergling production? It's really easy to say things like 72 supply, or to say things like after you have made X many units. But you can have all sorts of relative timings. When your roaches are halfway across the map, stop building Zerglings. When you start your third expansion, stop building Zerglings. We're making it relative. So now I'll talk a little bit about why this attack is good, because, as we're going to see, it hits our opponent at I would say at a timing that is vulnerable in two big ways. For one, at 8 minutes. Let's consider this in two sets. Around 8 minutes, if he is a player who is trying to rely on a marine maraudering defense, he will generally just be shy of stim at this point in time. He might have combat shield, but generally he'll be just shy of all that stuff. This is just a sort of common tendency. Also, if he goes for, hell, anything else, he's also going to be shy of the combat shield and the stim. So we're hitting him before any of that. He's going to have to rely a lot on SCVs, so we can kill those with our Ling Roach. Cool. What about if he's going Hellion, Banshee? Well, I'll tell you in this game, our player actually is going for a Banshee. This attack, if he goes for Expand Banshee, this attack that hits at 8 minutes will actually arrive right around the time when he gets his Banshee up. So, we will see the Banshee and be able to prepare for it. And it's his first Banshee, so he won't really have that much strength at his front. If he goes for Hellion, he's kind of boned. Like some big Hellion plays get just boned from this. So I should say most significantly, this is this wins a lot. This wins a lot. And one of my favorite things about this attack, and by the way, this is the placement that most Terrans are going for nowadays. This smart sort of behind bunker placement. But no big deal. We're going to kill it off, not a problem. What I like so much about this is that now we are getting some excellent data on what's up with our opponent. Early attack timing plays give us the most information about what our opponent is up to. For instance, right now we can definitively say that he's doing some sort of... he's already given his reactor back to his barracks. So he's going for some sort of Marine, low on Hellion, high on Banshee play. Funky. So, this is kind of a difficult read to make, but for the most part, this formation is almost always 2-port Banshee. Almost always. Very rarely will a barracks be here and he's going for 1-port Banshee. As a result, we see Dongregoo way over-respond. This is just one of these tends to be true kind of thing. But let's say that, for the time being, let's say to note that you are unsure. You're unsure what your opponent is up to. You saw one Banshee at 8:30. And we're actually going to see a second Banshee in a moment here. Where are the Banshees? There's the other Banshee. Oh, sorry. There's yet another Banshee. If you didn't have as good a reads as Dongregoo, you still get the chance to see 3 Banshees quite early on. And for any of you who didn't know, a Banshee actually takes 1 minute to build. There it is, 60 seconds. Banshees are one of the easiest things to get timing reads on. You just literally say, oh, I saw a Banshee first appear at 8:30, and then I saw another one appear at 9, and another one appear at 9:30. That fucker's got 2 starports. That can help so much. So, in other words, at this point in time, we were in a weird situation where we had this bunker pressure early on, this barracks pressure. But you know what? We responded no problem at all. Why? Because we relied on relative timings. I'm going to go gas, and then I'm going to build my pool. And when my Zergling speed is about maybe halfway done, I'm going to start this Roach Warren. Or maybe when it's 30% done, I start this Roach Warren. When this Roach Warren is halfway done, I build a whole bunch of roaches. When my roaches are halfway across the map, I'm going to start my 3rd expansion. And I'm going to stop building Zerglings to reinforce. All these relative timings make us very flexible. And likewise, we are now, again, thrown kind of a curveball. What the hell? He's going fast 2-port Banshee? What? We've kind of identified 2 ports, and we're feeling a little uncomfortable. So when we step into part number 2, we're going to be answering questions of how we see Dongregoo respond quite smartly. And in the break, I'd love it if you just considered how would you respond if I actually got the chance to say, okay, now you're going to play as Dongregoo. You get to see all of MMA's base, and then it's just going to go back to a normal thing. Here we go. Here we go. Part number 2 coming up right after this.